steel jaws, spiked teeth, strong enough to crush bone in half a second. Hidden in long grass, concealed under leaves. Triggered by a single footstep, powerful enough to take a leg clean off. These weren't banned until 1827. Before that, completely legal, and some are still sat in museums today. This is the man trap. To understand why this thing existed, you need to understand what was happening in England at the time. Throughout the 1700s, a series of laws called the Enclosure Act started fencing off land that ordinary people had used for generations. Basically, land that used to belong to everyone got handed to one wealthy landowner, and overnight, things people had always done on that land became illegal. Common land, where the rural poor could graze animals or take the occasional rabbit just to feed their families, suddenly that same act was a crime. Poaching. Some people poached because they were desperate. Some did it because the land had always felt like theirs. Either way, landowners had a problem. Too much land to watch, not enough money to pay enough gamekeepers to patrol it properly. So from the 1770s onward, they found a cheaper solution. Set a trap and let it do the watching for you. The man trap worked on the exact same spring-loaded principle as the kind of trap you'd use to catch a wolf or a bear. Basically, a metal jaw held open under tension with a flat pressure plate in the middle. So the second something steps on it, the jaws snap shut instantly. Except this wasn't an animal trap repurposed. It was deliberately built and sold specifically for use against people. Manufacturers made them to order, specially shaped, specially toothed, sized precisely for a human leg rather than an animal's. The intent wasn't incidental, it was the entire point. They had a nickname. Gamekeepers and landowners openly called them firecrackers and body squeezers. Not whispered, not euphemistic. That's genuinely what people called them at the time, the way you'd careless name any other bit of farm equipment. Some landowners hid them carefully under leaves and grass along paths poachers were known to use. Others didn't bother hiding them at all. They'd put up a sign warning that traps were active on the land, on the theory that fear alone would do the job. It often didn't. People still got caught, and it wasn't always the people the traps were meant for. By the 1820s, public pressure had been building for years over exactly this. Repeated cases of servants, innocent trespassers and children getting caught instead of the poachers the traps were meant for. In 1827, Parliament finally passed the Spring Guns and Man Traps Prohibition Act, making it a felony to set any engine calculated to destroy human life or inflict grievous bodily harm. The new law was on the books, but plenty of traps that had been set years earlier were still sitting in the ground, forgotten or simply not yet removed. The very next year, in 1828, a young boy named William Bird was wandering through a garden in Hampstead, chasing after a bird he'd lost. He wasn't poaching, he wasn't stealing anything, he was a child looking for his pet. He triggered a hidden spring gun and it discharged, badly wounding his leg. The case went to court. The judge ruled firmly against the landowner, calling the device an inhuman act. That ruling mattered beyond just this one case, because in English law, court decisions set precedent. Other judges looked to them when deciding future cases. So this became one of the most cited rulings in the entire history of English property law. For roughly 60 years, from the 1770s through to 1827, these things had simply been out there, legally, sat in hedgerows, woodland paths and farmland across the entire country, waiting for whoever stepped in the wrong place next. Even after the ban, manufacturers found a loophole of sorts, a humane version of the man trap. Same mechanism, same spring-loaded jaws, just without the teeth, designed to hold a person in place rather than mutilate them, until the landowner or a gamekeeper arrived to deal with them personally. Which, depending entirely on the mood of whoever showed up, wasn't necessarily the upgrade it sounds like. The traps themselves still exist. Walk into certain museums across England today, Bedford Museum, the Museum of English Rural Life, several small county collections, and you'll find actual surviving man traps on display behind glass. Visitors often describe being shocked at the size of them. Some are taller than the average person standing next to them. So next time you're walking through the English countryside, somewhere quiet, somewhere old, just remember, for about 60 years, stepping in exactly the wrong spot could have ended with your leg shattered in half, entirely within the law, because somewhere, someone had decided a rabbit was worth more than your bones.